This is the February 15, 2019 work session of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Our Mayor, the Honorable Lynn Spruill, is out of state today, so I am conducting the work session today at her request. I have been provided a copy of the agenda, and we will follow the agenda as it is outlined. The next thing we have on the agenda is the discussion of the agenda item for the February 19, 2019 recess meeting of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville. So if you would just turn to your agenda for the upcoming meeting, let's fast forward to Roman numeral 4, approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes. And the way I like to do it is that we have two items. The Mayor has placed those on consent. Does anyone like to discuss either of those items? If not, we'll move to the next item.
Chris, you're good with them?
I am, yeah. They've been edited and finalized.
Okay.
You said they're okay?
They are, yes, sir.
Okay. The next item would be the public appearances interview of Dr. Simon Kim for the position of Community Development Director. As I talked with the Mayor, he's the remaining applicant, so the Mayor said he'll be here and we'll present him to the board, and the board will take whatever action if any it desires. Any question about that matter? Okay. There are two public hearings under Roman number 8, and the first on item A, Mr. Attorney, I think we discussed that at length the other night, unless somebody have any question about that. And then public hearing number B is in Ward 7, where they're seeking to rezone a vacant lot that was once a mobile home park into attorney to 3A into single housing development. So is there any question on that matter or matters A and B?
Is that the project that we talked about last work session, the housing that will be built there?
Right down the corner of West Side Drive and Reed Road, yeah, that's it. Right across from the Caribbean Nursing Home.
Okay. All right, the next item, Roman number 9, Mayor's business. Is there any question about the consented matter about the local organization, Golden Triangle Planning Development, pursuing the grant? Ms. Phyllis is here in case anyone has any questions for her. If there's any board member desire to hear from Ms. Phyllis Benson with regard to that particular item, seeking grant funds for improvements to the lift stations and other related matters at the Trim Cane Water Association. Any board member have any questions about that? Okay, down to board business. There are 4 items. So let me bring one item to your attention real quickly. I called the attorney this morning. I was thinking that under item B, under the statute, attorney is 37-7-203, right?
Yes, sir.
The term for Ms. Prince expires on March 5, 2019. So the agenda item reflects a 4-year term, gentlemen, and all the lady. It was a 5-year term. So attorney, I think it would be correct to have Ms. Harden to change this to reflect it expiring on March of 2024 to comply with the statute.
And I'm looking at her notes, and she's made that correction.
Very good, very good. Does anyone care for items C and D to go on consent? Does anyone have?
That'd be good.
Does anyone have an objection to the clerk putting items C and D on the consent agenda? Clerk, will you put items C and D on the consent agenda, and just let the mayor know when she returns, please? Okay, down to planning. There are 3 items, and of course we'll leave B and C off, but are there any questions about the 3 items under planning? Are there any questions about the 3 items under planning? If not, we'll move to finance administration. Any questions about those items of finance administration? We've got the claim stock and financial statement and travel. So if there are no questions, we'll move to the fire department. We have 2 items there, and one that's not on the consent agenda speaks to the purchase of a vehicle. Does anyone have any objection to that matter going on the consent agenda?
Chief, what is this vehicle used for?
Come use for the fire marshal. The other vehicle we move it down to training utility.
The present vehicle you're using now, you're gonna move it down?
Yes, sir, move it down.
And I'm sorry. Are there funds available, Ms. Harden, in the code rebate?
Yes, there are. We currently have a balance of about $75,000.
Okay.
You move it to
Is
consent.
this one of those smaller trucks?
This is gonna be a regular pickup.
Regular?
Yes, sir. The Rango,
Ms. Harden, per the request of the board member, would you put that on consent, please, ma'am? Okay, human resources, all those items on consent. I'm sorry, excuse me, gentlemen.
I got a question. Why are we going to all these Dodge trucks and everything we get going to Dodge? Any reason why we going to Dodges?
the reason we did this, it was cheap, it's $3,000 cheaper than the other vehicle.
I know the park and recreation, they went to Dodges. So I'm just trying to see any reason why we.
Are we getting them local through the Dodge dealership, maybe, or, I know they're state contractor, but are they coming out of here locally?
No, sir.
No?
This comes from Grenada Kurt, but the question is answered, Chief, he wants to know if we're not, Chief, ask if we're not getting it locally, why we're not getting it locally? Just answer that for the
And now
gentleman.
it's state contract.
They're not,
So they cheaper, we want the Dodges at a cheaper price. Okay.
okay. Gentlemen, from 7, you done?
I'm done.
Yes, sir. Okay, human resources, any questions, those 4 items on consent? Any questions for human resources? If not, the next category is parks. There are 4 items, 3 are on consent, and the 4th item is the director seeking to purchase a tractor. Does anyone have an objection to that matter being on consent? Does any alderman have an objection?
What this tractor gonna be used for?
This is a mower. It's a
Wow.
significant upgrade on our mowers, so I have a couple of slides and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah. 66,000, let us see something.
Yeah, sure, thanks. So recently, we've been looking into this for several months actually, in consultation with different professionals, including the MSU field superintendent, this type of machine. So we worked with a couple of different vendors that had this similar type available. Staff recently went through these demonstrations with this equipment, and the one you'll see on the right, and I'll show you another picture in just a minute, the John Deere 9009 Terrain Cut, which is was selected and is on the agenda for approval, was by far the unanimous preferred choice of staff, primarily due to the ease of maintenance on the machine, and it's got a very, very user-friendly display. You hop on the machine, it has built-in maintenance reminders that you can program, so it's very, very user-friendly, especially in the maintenance of it. Another key feature on this is, you can just about see it on here, but on this machine, if we need to change mowing height, we shouldn't need to very frequently, but if we do need to change mowing height, that can be done in a matter of minutes. With the alternative, the other vendor that demonstrated a similar type of machine, their mower height would take an hour or more. To change it, it involved basically taking off about 15 different bolts. It was a much more labor-intensive process. So again, just ease of maintenance in a variety of ways. This is something I've been working on for a while, just to kind of show you the difference. So currently we cut all of the parts of the X-Mark 72 Laser E series, which that machine is obviously significantly less. But you'll notice, aside from being just obviously a much larger machine, this John Deere 9009, it's got a quicker rate of cut. That's due to being just a couple miles per hour faster. It's got bigger tank. There's not going to be as downtime for having to get off, refuel as often. The time required, and again, this is going 1-to-1. So if you had one person mowing on the X-Mark versus one person mowing on the John Deere, it's obviously going to mow more. Really, you start nailing down to it into a annual comparison. There's a couple things that stand out. Time required, 17 hours. This is an example or demonstration of basically what it would take to cut the key park and sportsplex athletic fields. 50 acres is a roundabout estimate of the total acreage we're having to cut on athletic fields. It takes about 17 hours just using one machine. And you can obviously see that with this larger machine, it's significantly less, so there's a lot of time savings built in for staff time. You know, hours mowed per year, you start to break it down and multiply it out for an hourly rate per year. 600 hours mowed versus 269 hours. Again, more cost savings for staff time. Then break it down, fuel costs, staff costs, all that, what it amounts to is in 1 year alone, you're saving $7,000 estimated, and then over the life, or excuse me, $8,000 in 1 year, and then over the life of the machine, 7 years. That's a average. It could be longer, depending on the number of hours used. But that's about the mid-range of what we could expect to reasonably get out of a machine. Over the lifetime of this machine, we're almost going to get all that back, just in that one-to-one comparison. So, yeah, it's a much more expensive machine. The other parts of this, talk about the benefits, things we've already been talking about, the cost savings with decreased mowing time, staff hours. This is really what you need to look at, or a huge benefit of going with this type of machine. We're going to be able to reduce the mow height. Currently, we're cutting the ball fields at about an inch and a half, between an inch and a half and 2 inches, just depending on factors, how wet they are, things like that. With this machine, we can go lower. We can go to an inch. We can go all the way down to 3/4 of an inch if we want to. We probably won't go that low. But what that means is that every person that uses our athletic fields is going to know the difference. They're going to pull up to the park and they're going to recognize the difference in the quality of playing service. This is going to touch thousands and thousands of people locally, but also those that visit our athletic fields for events. So yes, I understand it's a significant cost, but it's the impact it's going to make is obviously, in my opinion, well worth it. Another thing we wanted to point out, we're currently operating with 5 Exmark mowers. 2 of those machines are already have 1,400 hours on them or more. So by our estimations and the useful life of those machines, we're likely going to be in the replacement mode for a minimum of 2. So we've got 2 machines, and the last time we bought one was $8,500. So we've got 2 machines that over the next 2 years are most likely going to have to be replaced. This would eliminate that. Again, the fuel savings, and then lost staff time. We're only going to be using, we're going to be using less machines. So if one were to go down, we've got more, waiting, ready to go. So it's going to reduce, the depreciation cost of our current machines because they're not going to be used as often. So again, the ones, not only is it adding a machine to our fleet, but the ones we currently have, it's going to extend their life as well. Any questions?
How will this be funded?
So what's on this agenda is we would basically finance this machine, I believe. So that'd be the next step, is to advertise for financing, but we will roll this cost into our budget over the lifetime of the financing.
Y'all have a machinery and equipment
Yes,
line,
yes.
right, that you use for that?
That's a big mower.
It is a big mower.
Are you gonna be able to transport it from park to park? Okay, you got a trailer big enough for it and everything?
We are looking at a trailer purchase right now. But that would actually, a trailer purchase was already in the works anyway because of having to transport back and forth to J.L. King Park and other parks for mowing. So that was going to be needed anyway. But yes, the short answer, we are going to have to look at getting a new trailer to make sure we can adequately transport it. And just point out, this machine would not be used really for common grounds. This would be J.L. King Park football field, J.L. King Park softball field, McKee Park, baseball fields, and the sports place. So athletic playing services is what it would primarily be used for.
Any gentleman from 7?
Since so many aldermen's not here, I just suggest we leave this off of consent agenda and then make it.
Well, that's no problem. That's fine, gentlemen. Thank you. Any other questions for the director from Parks?
One quick question. So what I was hearing when you were talking about the time that it takes to cut and change things out and all that sort of thing, that you're essentially creating about a quarter of an FTE there in time saved in using the mower, so they'll be able to do other maintenance issues.
Correct. So yeah, that's another added benefit of this, is we're going to have just plainly less people having to mow at the same time. So not only our athletic playing services, but our other park areas, we're going to have, at minimum, an extra body free, and that just means one more person that can focus more on our improved maintenance of all parks. So it's got a very, very much a trickle-down effect for how our entire park system's gonna look, so.
Any other question for Mr. Logan? If not, Mr. Logan, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
And we're now down to the police department. There are 3 items listed and 3 on consent. Are there any questions to the police chief or with regard to any of these items? If there are none, we'll move to sanitation. There's 1 item on sanitation. Is there any question about the item under sanitation? Last but not least, we have the utility department. Department head is here. There are 3 items all on consent. Are there any questions about either of these items on the list under the utilities department? If there are none, Attorney, I take it that Roman numerals 12 through 15 just placeholders in case something comes up?
That's correct. Nothing
And
specific to my knowledge.
Yes, sir. So, well, this concludes going through the agenda. Does anyone want to digress back to anything we have already covered? If not, I go to the next agenda item. If not, this meeting will stand, work session will stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.